Hey everyone, Tony D and little Joan here with a hot take. Now, uh, it's on a lamp video, important video. I know there are a lot of Trump supporters out there that are freaking the hell out. Calm your S down. Look, this wasn't going to be easy, and there was always a possibility Trump could lose. That being said, his pathway to victory is extremely narrow now. He gets the SCOTUS. If he gets enough cases to SCOTUS, what's stopping him now is, will the cases get to SCOTUS, number one, and will SCOTUS rule in his favor? They're putting the pressure as much as possible, so SCOTUS is going to feel like, oh my God, we have to flip the whole election in order to rule this way. They want that. And they may stand up and give the whole election to Trump. They may have a sweeping constitutional moment where they say mail-in ballots are hereby unconstitutional. You can't have them. The election's void. Go to the delegates. Or the mail-in ballots don't count up the votes without the mail-in ballots, and then Trump's got an easy win as well. Those are the two options. The chances of it happening now have pretty much narrowed, but we still got another week. So hang on. I don't know what you're getting so crazy about. I mean, it was unlikely he was going to win these cases in front of Democrat judges or even Republican judges appointed by Obama. Plus, you're talking about states like Pennsylvania that have a Democratic governor. If you don't think he's putting pressure on these judges or the people around them, well, you haven't been paying attention to politics. This is the way it works. Everybody puts pressure on everybody else and then hopes, well, how's the public feel now? And they gauge it and they gauge it and gauge it and gauge it. That's the real danger here. That SCOTUS does get the cases, but they gauge the public based on, I don't know, the mainstream media, Twitter, God forbid. And they go, well, everybody pretty much thinks Biden's the president. Can we really deny them that? Really feels like Biden's the president. I mean, that could happen. It could also just happen that a bunch of legal maneuvers prevent Trump from bringing the cases to the Supreme Court. He needs 3 states at least to overturn. And now you've got certification in Pennsylvania and in Georgia. Those were 2 states that had a ton of votes. It's going to be harder to overturn them than it is to jam up the system. However, we still got Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada. He would have to jam up all 4 of those states. All 4 of those states would have to somehow not certify anything. If that happened, then Biden wouldn't have enough electors. Then it would go to the delegates. Still could happen. But I see a lot of very dark talk. Even in my comment section, oh, I'm done with politics, blah, blah, blah. You can't just throw it away. It wasn't going to be easy. You can't just wave your hand and say, oh, this was too hard. I mean, you can, I guess, but I don't know what you expected, really. You have to look, first off, on all the positives here. That we had Trump at all for 4 years doing what he did is pretty impressive. I mean, a lot of people can proudly talk about Trump. Do you know how long it's been since I heard people talk about their president proudly? Yeah, there were a handful of guys who really talked about Reagan, but even that wasn't like they talk about Trump. No, Trump is legendary amongst these people. He is God Emperor to them, a lot of them. And that's a positive thing to have someone who's in a leadership position that people admire. Unfortunately, there are people on the other side of the aisle who have the complete reverse and hate him that much. They hate him so much, they were willing to risk jail, injury, death, to make sure he couldn't run again or couldn't win this election. And understand that Democrats have just about destroyed their own party doing this. Their party is pretty wrecked. Now, you might say, well, if the vote's rigged, how are we ever going to get back in? Well, they pulled out a lot of stops to do this. And if they had total control of the election, it would have gone a little more smoothly for them, I think. So I don't think they have total control of the election. I do think they have great influence, but now, just like in Ohio and Florida, the hammer's coming down. Either way, whether Trump wins or Biden wins, the hammer's coming down. These states will be forced to, through a series of lawsuits, fix their voting irregularities. Now, Wisconsin did have some voting irregularities and had fairly stringent guidelines. But Trump might have just lost. I mean, you have to think of it that way. He might have just lost. There's also very likely not to be a beer virus lockdown in 2022. I don't think the Democrats could even rule this country that long with a lockdown going 2 years. I mean, there'd be nothing left. There'd literally be nothing left of this country. So the lockdown's going to end. We may be subject to a whole bunch of BS. But the midterms, I mean, look, part of this is feeding the media narrative. And what does the media narrative say? When a president's in power, the other party wins. The Republicans are very likely to take back both houses in 2022. Both. And what's that going to do for the rest of Biden or Kamala Harris's presidency? Oh, I don't think they're going to be president very long if the Republicans get their payback. And I think they might. If Biden's in, you could look forward to immediate impeachment right there. Now, I don't know if they could have really much of a shot of impeaching them unless they control the House, because I believe it's the House that brings up the charges. And I'm not sure if they have to vote on that or not. I'm pretty sure they do. It's the Senate that actually tries him. And the Senate is so razor thin now. It's a lot rides on the Georgia election and the senators there. But in 2022, the Democrats are defending way more seats than Republicans then. It was Republicans defending the most seats this time. In 2 years, it's going to be the Democrats defending the most seats. On top of the fact that the Republicans gained a state legislature, which means they get to redraw the districts, and they'll redraw them in their favor. So I forget which state it was. Which state was it? I don't remember. So a lot of positives here. On top of the fact, all the stuff that Trump did, right? You got peace in the Middle East brewing. You got energy independence. You had prison reform. You had the tax cuts, which expire, unfortunately, but they don't expire right away. I mean, they kind of like start to expire next year and then another year. And then, yeah, we're all going to be screwed on taxes, by the way. Biden still has to pass stuff through Congress, which is going to be tougher. But again, a lot hinges on that Georgia election for the Senate. It's also, too, that Biden is incredibly unpopular either way you slice it. He's not popular within his own party. They kind of reluctantly signed a deal with the devil in order to get him elected. That doesn't bode well for his presidency at all. Today, a survey came out saying that something like 30% of Democrats regret now voting for Biden after not hearing about the Hunter Biden allegations and such. So you can count on a lot of Democratic moderates to move to the other side of the aisle. And that's really what we should be concentrating on, building. See, the other side, they concentrate on destroying. That's why they're all about protest. We got to protest in the streets. What does that do? Well, there's a lot of shouting. Sometimes things get out of hand and they destroy stuff. And I'm not saying people shouldn't protest on the right. They should. But understand that it only does so much good. It makes you visible. You have to be peaceful. And understand that the media is going to go after you hammer and tongs. But we have to build things. On the top of the agenda is rebuilding the media. we have to build it. We have to build a better media that will trounce all these other media companies. They're already trouncing themselves pretty good. They're in big trouble. We have to build our own version of GoFundMe. You know, I can't tell you how many Indiegogo, GoFundMe campaigns, all these campaigns that just got axed because, oh, we don't like your politics. Boom, they axed them. So that needs to happen. Somebody needs to build that. Get on it. I don't know computers. Get on it. We got our own Twitter parlor, but even that, you got to be careful. You can't get caught up in the echo chamber. There's going to be wackadoos there too. There's going to be wackadoos with crazy ideas. Look, I like Alex Jones. I think he's funny, and even once in a while he makes a point. But he says crazy things. So you can't just watch InfoWars and go, aha! No, you have to go, okay, lizard people, all right, well, whatever. And I'm not saying you can dismiss everything he says, but take it with a big grain of salt. We have to build things that are, bastions of truth, not just partisan or not just entertaining, and it's going to be tough. It's tough to build things. It's tough to make them work. It's already happening, though. Sargon of Akkad has already revamped his whole channel. Now, he's in the UK, but he's a big Trump supporter. I recommend you watch him. And on his new channel, The Lotus Eaters. I don't know why he came up with that name, but that's the new name. And he's doing cool new stuff there. I mean, it's kind of similar to what he was doing before, but a little different format. He's got some more people involved, and he's doing research. He's got an office and a nice set. That's what needs to happen. Officer Tatum is expanding his business. He's covering more news. Jeremy at the Quartering, he's got his Midwestly. He's expanding. Everybody's expanding. I can't expand yet. Just slow down. I mean, it's enough to deal with this little monster. But I get enough followers and enough casheroo coming in on this. I can spend more time on it. I can, I've got skills in this area, but I don't have the time. You've seen my editing skills. That's just a little taste of what I could do. If I had the real equipment and the time, most importantly, the time, I could do some damage. Oh, yeah. And not to mention research. Yeah, research takes time, too. So, there's a lot of positivity going on, and there's no reason to get all black-pilled, as they say, and doom and gloom. It's going to be a tough road. Nothing worth doing is easy, okay? So, is Trump going to win? I still have hope that he has a shot at this if he can get the SCOTUS. It's SCOTUS or nothing. If he doesn't get the SCOTUS, that's it. And I'll wait for him to say, he's leaving the White House before I'll trust any other media. And a final thing you could think about too, and I've said this before, there's this concept of choking the beast. And this concept came up, a lot of right-wingers came up with, a lot of libertarians, and the idea was to destroy the government by choking the beast. The government was the beast, and you choke it off out of money and resources and whatnot. And this is a radical concept for, going after the government, because the idea was to, do things like, what was the group? There's a group out west. They're not the Mormons, but they're kind of like the Mormons, but they have a million wives, but they're not legal wives. What they would do is they'd get these sort of pseudo wives to all go on welfare, and then they'd pool all the money together, and they were like just draining the government dry, draining the state government, and that was the idea. It was just to like take all they could from the government, and it was kind of scammy. Choking the beast in this instance is what I'm saying is you have to go after the people who messed this all up. Well, who messed it all up? You're talking big tech and you're talking media. Don't give them your money if you can help it. start to think about where you're spending your money, especially your entertainment dollars, because in media, those entertainment companies, they have the entertainment division and the news division, right? So ABC is owned by Disney. So in a sense, if you have Disney Plus, your kids watch Disney cartoons, you're essentially supporting ABC News. The Warner Brothers, AT&T, they own CNN. So essentially, by buying DC Comics or watching DC cartoons or the CW, you're supporting CNN. So stop doing that. Stop doing that. Choke the beast. If they run out of money or start losing money, if they see they're losing money, and they're losing money now, but over a period of time, they will have no choice but to beg people to come back. And by that time, we could have our own channels and whatnot. But that takes a lot of work and a lot of time. But that's time better spent doing that than fighting in the streets with Antifa guys. F those guys. You know, prepare your defenses. I mean, if you're near those guys, you got to be ready. You got to be ready to lock up your place, shutter it, whatever you need to do. So Antifa can't break your windows. Every night you shutter things up and you put in the good shuttering, not the cheap shuttering, the shuttering that you know you need a tank to drive through, and let those guys bash somebody else's windows, or get out of the cities entirely. That would be my main takeaway. Although I don't think you're going to be seeing Antifa very long. I tried to warn you, Antifa, what would happen under a Biden presidency, and that's coming. We'll talk about that in the next video. But don't despair, Trump fans. We still got a few more plays in this card game. Let's see how they play out. Don't get mad on Twitter or social media. Don't make a crazy video screaming at people. Just, if the worst happens, take it with stoic resolve and say, oh well, I'm going to go do something else.